What's good, Nomads? How we doing today? I figured I am probably a bit late on this, but I figured I would switch it up a bit. Since that's the case, I'm going to react to Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. I'm a big fan of the 2005 OG game. I played the hell out of that back on 360. And I'm definitely looking forward to this game. So far, so good of the good things I hear. I'm going to react to all the upcoming news that I've missed since then. And also the one Capcom trailer. So yeah, let's get into this. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely some I'm interested in gaming again. Hopefully they changed a good amount of stuff from that.
Say, buddy, you mentioned something about research for a story. Frank West.
Remember that name, because the whole world's gonna know it in 3 days. What? Did you just say zombies?
Take a look out there.
Graphics still look pretty good.
Those ain't zombies. What would you call them? Quick, move! Get over here! This is my store! A customer!
What you just witnessed is the newly released trailer for Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. You may be thinking, that looks like a full-on remake. We had the same thought, so we spoke with 3 key staff to get to the bottom of this Deluxe Remaster. We began our investigation with director Ryosuke Murai. Well, actually, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to call this game a remake, considering the work we put into it. Before we could even ask a question, Murai was giving us the inside scoop about the game.
Okay, let's see.
The first thing you'll notice is the improved graphics. The new specs allow the game to run at 4K 60 FPS. We've also made quite a few quality of life improvements, like the ability to move while aiming, as
Yeah,
well as
that's
other
what's been
adjustments
needed.
to
If
make
you're gonna
controlling
remake
Frank
it, you
more
better add
intuitive.
that. The moving while shooting.
Thanks to popular demand, we've added an autosave feature and fine-tuned the user interface. The game
Because a
will
lot
be
of
fully voiced in
psychopaths,
9
when you're low
languages,
level and you
with
try to take
text
them
in
on
14,
without an
giving more
autosave,
players
and
around
I
the world a
remember
chance
those
to
times.
enjoy characters'
That damn
dialogue.
near made me want to rage quit.
We've also
Like
made
fighting
some
Adam with
improvements to
not the
NPC
best
behavior
weapons and
that
not
we
knowing
hope
to
will make
use
surviving the
special.
zombie
I remember when I
apocalypse
first played this game and I fought Adam the Clown and that one cop character. My dumbass didn't realize I could use the blender and make those quick stars or those tanky special drinks with the alcohol in that. And I didn't even pay attention to that. I remember when I first learned it, I'm like, oh man, I feel stupid as F, man.
all the colorful characters that much more enjoyable.
But then it made it easier when you got to use
That
those
sounds
special
like a
drinks.
complete overhaul. It makes me wonder if the game's main concept is still intact. If you've played the original, rest assured that its core remains unchanged in this deluxe remaster. We did our best to respect the direction of the original game. We kept the fundamental gameplay the same while improving upon the user experience. With this, we believe that both veterans and newcomers alike will be able to enjoy a fresh experience.
Jesse looks
Our
cute
goal
in this one. I
was
like
to
that.
ensure that today's players would experience the same shock players felt when the original game was released. We believe we accomplished this goal with Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. We hope that everyone will give it a try. Unable to get any definitive answers out of director Murai, we gave art director Satoshi Takamatsu the third degree. It turns out he had ambitions of his own for this project. Because the original came out 18 years ago, there were many limitations during development. Thanks to nearly 2 decades of technological advancements, we were able to accomplish a lot that couldn't be done back then.
That's why the
For
eyes still look a
example,
little funny.
Resident Evil, Capcom's other zombie franchise, focused on quality over quantity. Dead Rising took a different approach. The goal was to pack as many zombies as possible into that huge shopping mall. This meant each individual zombie wasn't as polished as we would have liked. However, this time around, we were able to focus on quality as well. As the art director, I couldn't be more pleased that we were able to apply high-end modeling and production to both the main character Frank and all of the NPCs. Of course, another critical aspect of Dead Rising that we have to address is the shopping mall setting. In the original game, the Willamette Parkview Mall is made up of several areas, like Entrance Plaza and Paradise Plaza, each with its own unique characteristics. We've taken these designs and evolved them even further by adding real-time lighting and shadow effects, so that each location takes on a different appearance, depending on the time of day. That's
Does
how
look
much
good.
detail we've put into this project.
Especially if you're running more high-end specs on your PC. I can imagine it'd look even better.
For character animations, we tried to limit unnecessary changes and use the original data as much as possible, especially during action scenes. We could have made them more realistic with today's tools. But we wanted to preserve the unique and comical movements that made the original Dead Rising so special.
当時のアニメーションが一番ベストだと思っておりましたので、今回はそういうふうな形をとっております。
Takamatsu was finally giving us the info we were looking for. However, we couldn't stop there. We had to know why this is called a Deluxe Remaster. To do that, we tracked down the game's producer and managed to get his account. I think Dead Rising is a
I like
unique
how they're
game
going real
with
seriously
extremely
of
tight
just
game
talking to the
design,
people
even by
that
today's
we're doing
standards.
the game.
However,
It's like it's not that
we also
serious,
knew
G,
the
but I
original
get the
game was
nostalgia.
released 18 years ago, and that improvements were needed to reach a modern audience. That's why we focused on improving playability, in addition to overhauling the graphics. This game truly deserves the title of Deluxe Remaster. Its unique game design allows it to stand apart from other zombie games. It feels fresh even today.
That it does. I'll give it that. I just hate, that has such a bad stigma now. I'm glad they explained it that way, because how they say modern audiences. When you hear that, that means a lot of BS, and they mess up games with, how do they call virtue signals and/or other propaganda that a certain side likes to push, and that messes up a lot of not only games but shows, movies, etc. I don't like that term, modern audience. I mean, I guess screw what I like, but anyone in there who is a big game fan that doesn't care about all the other BS that's going on in the world, who just likes the gaming, the virtual world, and virtual world to escape a bit of real life, to a degree. I think you understand where I'm coming from when it comes to that term in regard, and the bad stigma connected with that modern audience word, as they say. But anyways, I'm looking at this too, and I'm going to see what they added. Ooh, Leon Kennedy stuff. Okay, hold on a minute. Yeah, because I heard they added that, which is cool. It sucks that the cosmetics in the game isn't going to have any special effects like I wish they did, but, It's cosmetics, better nothing for the price, and I'll take that over nothing, because it would suck to make a remake and you're making people pay the 50, 60, or however many dollars to get their hands on the cosmetics, and then, you know, it's just the basic 3 cosmetics that came with the original game, you know, so I do like that. At least if they were to remaster anything or remake anything in any games, they better at least come with some extra stuff like cosmetics, weapons, few extra attention to details, like more extra sections that were probably cut out from the original game. You know, that kind of thing. I would like the cosmetics and extra weapons, though, because, like, come on. It's good to have a little jump start and a good boost to start off the game instead of just walking around with just your hands and nothing else. Like in Resident Evil 2 or 3 Remake, I like the option where you get to start off with a couple loaded pistols of the samurai edges from the Resident Evil 2 Remake. But yeah, let's get to this. I'm gonna react to these cosmetics. I like it. I'm glad they added Leon's cosmetics.
He's unconscious, but alive.
Alright, let's see. Didn't do that. They added Chuck Greens in there too. Let's react to all of this shit. Ooh, Monster Hunter as well. I definitely need to react to that as well. Chuck Green. Let's go with that one.
Frank West, photojournalist.
Wow, they got the hair too. That's some attention to detail. Okay, I like that. He's blonde now. Like they said in the original trailer, though, I hope a lot of the mechanics aren't as janky as like the original game was, because let's be honest, I like that they kept some of the concept, but the original mechanics were pretty janky and messed you up. Like when you had to fight Cletus, the gun store owner, and you had that dodge drill and you had to hide behind that stuff, but if you kept getting hit, by the time you get back up, he could shoot you again, and that was like a never-ending freaking spam attack that would pretty much kill you, like in some of those other games that made it impossible to go after the boss and then made you want to break your damn keyboard or controller.
You! Stop right there!
You know, some people were complaining about that too, the original costume, how a lot of people didn't want to put that in like the extra content and whatnot, which is possible to buy, which, you know, I could see the argument to that when it should be like a free thing, but, you know, as long as I add extra stuff with it, it's like kind of whatever with me, but, you know, I get what the other side is saying about that. Let's see, anything else? No, just that so far? Okay. Let's see what else. It sucks they didn't pack it all together, though. See if there's anything else I'm missing or I didn't, new gameplay. Alright, let's react to the gameplay then. I didn't know they had that unless it's the same as the original trailer. Let's see. Shout out to Punish, by the way. I like how seeing the background and all of the graphics from even this scene has got some attention to detail. I could appreciate that, the attention to detail, and it's not been half-assed, so to speak. Some attention to detail with the little icons. Okay, I like that. And of course you gotta like how they added a step instead of that dumb little ledge. I'm glad they put that in because everyone knows. I still can't get over how cute Jessie looks in this too. And of course, Leto's sister, too, isn't bad either. She still looks cute, too, but they really got Jesse to a good core. Now, I wanted to react to that, but I also, little plot twist here, I wanted to react to the original of the concept, because the original concept seemed a little more eerie and creepier, like something out of like the original Resident Evils that gave you a little bit of that uncomfortable feeling, which is good for a lot of these scary zombie type games that the original Resident Evil concept has, like all the OG games that gave that uncomfortability. Because let's keep it a stack. Big mall, the atmosphere. Big mall surrounded by zombies plus survivors that may or may not have gone cray-cray, and your thing of surviving that and then coming across them in their territory or their areas of them trying to protect themselves and feel comfortable with what little sanity they got left that they're thinking, but you cross there and then they think you're pretty much a zombie or a bad guy or just snap on you and try to kill you. Now that could be some eerie, scary feeling and give some sense of paranoia from... I'm just going to react to that as well, but you know what I'm saying. I kind of like that, you know? I wish they kept a lot of the stuff from the beta, as you can see.
The worst day of my life.
Because they definitely
I'll
made...
admit it was a big mistake.
Because, you know, I do like the comical side to Dead Rising and some of the little innuendos and jokes they tried to put there, too. Don't get me wrong. But I do appreciate, too, like other survival horror enthusiasts, like a little bit of that eerie feeling that could have been in there, which they did do a good job and a pretty decent job, I should say, at least, in the original game, fully out there type thing that's already been produced. I like what they did there. But... it could have had a little more shock factor to it and made you a little paranoid while gaming it, you know?
I'm a wartime photojournalist. I've seen it all. Horror, famine, death. The real stuff of nightmares. At least, that's what I thought. That was until I saw a corpse get up, walk, and kill. You probably think I'm nuts. The dead getting up and walking? Zombies. I'm not nuts, though. Right now, if things go well, I may get my hands on a Pulitzer or something. It's not like you hear about too many zombie stories in the news these days. So I guess there are only two things left to do. Film everything I can, and survive until help arrives.
So you gotta admit, I love that eerie feeling that came with that. I'm also gonna react to Step Zero's interpreted and breakdown of the original beta Dead Rising. Shout out to him, by the way. And do please check out Step Zero. I like his breakdown of the Dead Rising remake. I mean beta and whatnot. Of the Deluxe remasters, so... or Deluxe remake, as they say. I hope they implement some of the stuff they did from the original of the Dead Rising beta before the fully finished product. Some of the stuff that was cut content, you know? If you're gonna remaster it, you should definitely, especially in today's standards, you should definitely, you know, put more to the board, as in, and more to the content, add just more to what you're trying to
During
remake or
video game
remaster. My
development,
two
it's
cents.
very rare the game's story is implemented in the first few months. And this is also the case with Dead Rising.
Shouldn't leave
However,
out a lot of
Dead
good
Rising
cut
has a
content,
very
man.
bumpy
It would
history
definitely
when
be
it
worth
comes to
it
its release.
and make the
Dead
fan
Rising
base
was
really
originally
appreciative.
aiming to release on launch day of the Xbox 360 in 2005. However, the team eventually realized they would not make that deadline, and thus pushing the game's release further back time and time again until August of 2006. However, the simple fact that they were trying to push the game to make launch day means there was obviously quite a lot of the game finished in 2005. Now in 2005 we were shown many milestones of the game, such as 2005 E3 and then the TGS event a few months after. Both the builds showcased were extremely...
You know, I was gonna say when I watched the remake, I mean the the beta trailer of Dead Rising, the lifelines, they look a little weird, but it still has a good thing to it. It was interesting instead of it being yellow. I kind of didn't mind this. And you see what I mean too, how eerie and dark it looks from. I know they were still putting stuff into fruition and still polishing the game and whatnot, but you gotta admit, the beta looked pretty decent for what it did, especially for that scary and eerie feeling. But yeah, back to what Step Zero's got to break down.
Only early, but had a considerable amount of assets that were finished, implemented, and working. Now, if the game was in a state of near release in 2005, or so they initially thought, that means the game's story also had to be rather planned out and working. What's interesting about the game's original story is they never really discussed much about it. Aside from the premise of the game being Frank West as a photojournalist and a zombie outbreak occurring, they never actually revealed the game's main plot. Now, it would be easy to speculate that the game simply did not have a story at this point in development. However, after my years of working with this game, I've ever since collected amazing amount of info on what the game's story might have actually been. Now, in the earliest months of Dead Rising, it was first initially showcased as merely a tech demo for E3. For quite some time, we all speculated that the E3 build was not playable, and that it was just a trailer of the game. However, after reading through many IGN articles, they have stated that in the final days of E3, Capcom actually presented a playable version of what was shown in the trailer. Now, it's my understanding that this playable version was not open to the general public, but large reviewers such as IGN and GameSpy had a chance to play the 10 minutes that the demo provided. They were not allowed to capture footage or images, sadly, so we can't exactly see how their demo played out. But the trailer gives us a good enough idea of what these reviewers actually got to play. It was stated that this build was so early that it completely lacked the in-game HUD. However, the game did function how it was supposed to. Although not much of the game's story was revealed at E3, in the later months, Capcom unveiled a new, more polished build at the Tokyo Game Show convention, which showcased immense changes including Frank, the zombies, and the actual mall itself. The mall at this point in development wasn't actually completely nailed out yet, so the layout was rather different. However, enough of the mall was actually implemented to have some kind of working story or plot revolve around it. In one IGN article, it stated that there was some kind of plot in TGS, saying that you would have to go to the butcher shop and rescue Isabella after fighting Larry. For the longest time...
Oh yeah, real quick. A lot of people are kind of not happy with, or I wouldn't say not happy, but have a little bit of contingency with the Larry changed the butcher to that killer, which it doesn't bother me too much, but I kind of get, you want to keep to a bit of the original and keep the original idea like they did with the remake, apart from scrapping a couple other things. Doesn't bother me too much, but I get what they
we
what
always
most
thought
people,
TGS played
the fan
as a
base say about that. I
zombie
get it.
survival demo with 4 savable characters, but as it
But it
turns out,
doesn't
the
bother
game
me too
actually
much.
made you go do one of
As long as the
presumably
gameplay is
many
good, they
case
add
missions
a
in the
couple
game.
different stuff. Like I said, with weapons and that, and the graphics, and maybe add in a few cut content that they did from the original, or add in a little bit new content to the Deluxe remake. I'm good with it. And I'm sure people will come around and say, oh yeah, it doesn't bother me too much now, if they made sure they added some really good stuff and new stuff to the Deluxe remake. Then I'm sure people could get behind it and probably not get too bothered by it.
Now, of course, what's interesting about this is how the case actually plays out, where in the final game, we know you rescue Isabella after fighting Steven in Sean's Food and Stuff. However, in the TGS demo, you would find her held capture in the butcher shop. Now, this all sounds a bit fishy, seeing as there's no video proof, so I too didn't tend to really believe this as concrete evidence, or at least that was until I started doing some digging. In pre-E3's files, it actually contains a shitload of leftover TGS content, and some of the most amazing of which are loading screens and various splash screens in the game. What I'm about to show you has never publicly been seen since TGS 2005. This is presumably one of the loading screens that was used at TGS, which as you can see is unlike anything we got in the final game. To the left here, we can see a little note over Isabella's head stating, "This woman knows something about the zombies. Interrogate the woman concerning zombies," which was actually an in-game hint that scrolled across the bottom of your screen. And to Isabella's right, we can see the butcher shop with all the meat hanging down from the ceiling. Now this in its own right was amazing info, however it's not all. Here is another image found in Pre-E3's files called clear_English, and there is also an exact duplicate of this called clear_Japan. As you can see, it showcases a very early Isabella model inside the butcher shop, which seems to be playing an animation very similar to the one she uses
look
after saving
of the
her
beta
from
don't
Steven.
look too bad, actually.
So at this point,
I like it.
I was hooked. It's kind of amazing to think that originally in Dead Rising, you wouldn't confront Carlito in the butcher shop, which of course makes you wonder, where has Carlito been in this stage of development? Carlito's character was never actually hinted in any state of the game in trailers or much concept art, so it led many to assume his character was something that was added very late into development. And although his role might have been added in later on, Carlito's model has been around since the dawn of the game. As you can see, I actually have one of Carlito's possibly earliest models, which I found in the files of Pre-E3, which this model actually matches up with his earliest artwork, so that's pretty cool. So it's interesting to imagine where Frank would encounter Carlito in 2005, and the simple fact is, we really have no idea. Also, in the development stage of TGS 2005, we got a short look at Jessie as a character, which in TGS it's portrayed that she's in the maintenance tunnels, presumably being chased by something, but just from the light source approaching her, I would imagine it's Carlito in his truck. It also hints that Jessie would get killed and lean up against the wall instead of Brad, which would show a total shift in character development, as Brad should be
Now that's very freaking interesting. That concept. If they did some kind of concept like that, even though it sucks she still, dies, I would definitely like that little bit of change right there instead of her turning to a zombie and dying. Spoiler alert for those who didn't play it. Dying and turning to a zombie in the waiting room when the military people bust out and try to take her. That could have been a very interesting take on the situation of the game and story.
The one down here fighting Carlito, not Jessie. Sadly, I don't have any early models of Brad, but what we do have is a bit of concept art for him, so Brad's character was for sure implemented somewhere in the game's story at this point, but Capcom wasn't ready to unveil his character to the public. Isabella was not only hinted in the butcher shop, however. In the TGS trailer, we see her armed with Carlito's Barrett 50 cal and clearing out some entrance plaza zombies. It's not exactly known where this would fit in with the game's storyline, or whether it was just for the trailer, but it is certainly interesting to see her in this setting. So there you have it. Dead Rising was a game that had its overall appearance change many times, and it seems its story also followed these changes. When a game is this early in development, it's rare the story is anything more than just work in progress, but Dead Rising was more than that. Its original story seems like it would have followed a much darker and grittier storyline, and hopefully someday we'll be able to play it. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful, and as always, subscribe for more.
For sure. I'm also going to react to another one of his things as a little bit of a thing I thought, since I missed a bit of the Deluxe remake when they first talked about it. Because I figure it very interesting and cut content they talks about that I kind of hope, even though I doubt most of it, like they add into the game. I don't know. You never know what could happen. It is kind of getting close to that, to coming out. Just a month or a few weeks away now, actually. How time flies. Leftover content. Like I said, shout out Step Zero. I will definitely link his stuff in the description as well. Gotta give credit where credit's due. Really love his breakdowns on this.
I would describe Pre-E3 in only one way, one build and a half. The reason for this is that sure, you get to play Pre-3, which is an amazing build and contains some of the most interesting differences from the final game, but then you get a little bit extra. After simply peeking around in the files long enough, I found that Pre-3 was simply the tip of an iceberg, and that hiding deep within its files were things I have only dreamed of seeing, and it's no dream anymore. Back when Pre-3 was only a dream, I always speculated what might be in its files, whether or not it had earlier things or nothing interesting at all, but at the time, the only person who owned Pre-3 wasn't exactly open for discussions, and only really provided me with a few images, so my speculations were never proven, and left me in a total state of hype, but sadness that I might never know for sure. After waiting nearly 4 years of constant hope, I finally found another seller for Pre-3, so the mystery of what's inside it was finally about to be uncovered. What's funny is that everything I, or any of my friends thought would be in Pre-3's files, actually was in the files. TGS Frank, or early 2005 assets of any kind, sounded really far-fetched, but after just a couple hours of peering through its files, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Not only did I find models and textures of things shown to us throughout the many trailers of the game, but I even found things that weren't even shown to us in any shape or form, such as test models, unseen Xbox Summit survivors, prototype zombies, the list goes on. So buckle up and prepare yourself for literally digital history. So the first model we have here is a really early zombie, and it's easily one of the oldest there has ever been. This zombie is the precursor to all of the fat male zombies we got in the final game, however this one goes a bit further than that. This zombie was shown to us in E3 2005, or Xbox Summit as some prefer to call it. However, this was the last time we ever got to see this zombie, because in the later months, Capcom unveiled 2 new versions of this zombie, using a very similar model, as well as the textures being very similar, but he became noticeably much more HD, and with a much less 2005 appearance. Now that newer zombie model, well, the blue one at least, went on to being used as a cutscene zombie for the final game, but this black version, as well as the 2005 blue version, were never seen again. I don't even think Capcom has this model anymore, or even remember how it looked. And for the most part, that might be true for every other model you'll see here today, so this is the only place you'll see this. Now this next zombie is the one I'm sure everyone is hoping to see, so let's jump right into it. This is...
Ooh, okay. Real quick, I was going to say, you know, with the Deluxe Remaster, like I said, they should definitely add a little bit of, you know, more different models slash NPC zombie different models, like even if it's just a couple different ones so it doesn't all feel like the same like in the original game, you know, to change it up a little bit. No, still keep some of the original concept, of course, but, you know, add in a couple different new zombies like colors, different clothes, etc., you know, stuff like that. I kind of hope they do a little bit of that so it doesn't feel so redundant, so to speak, you know, even if it's just a couple different ones. I'd definitely be happy with it. I'm not that picky about it.
Now, if you don't know of this zombie's history, let me break it down a bit. So the Thug Zombie was also one of the oldest zombies in Dead Rising, and what's interesting is that throughout the 2 years of development, the amount of changes this zombie went through were so few I could barely even count them on one hand. Capcom, for some reason, was really sure about this zombie, so they barely made any changes to him, except for when you talk about his green version. Now in E3 2005, and only then, we got a look at 2 variants of the Thug Zombie, both with Hawaiian shirts, one yellow and one green, but for some totally unknown reason, Capcom decided to scrap the green version completely and only gave us the yellow version. In fact,
see, that sucks. Why did they do that? I'm sure it wouldn't be that much of a problem, and all these other little issues come about just adding another NPC zombie like that. You see what I'm saying? Hopefully with today's tech and everything, they don't get lazy like that and add in a couple NPC zombies, like the cut content from here if they want to use that as an idea. You see? That's good. And of course, another cuter looking female zombie. like they were adding in the Dead Rising 2s and 3s. I like that.
Not even TGS showcased the green version, so that proves they were over and done with this zombie very early. This zombie made an appearance on the box art of the game, but that's about it. Now if you're asking why is this zombie in Pre-E3's files, same thing goes for the last one we showed, I don't have an answer for that. Capcom for some reason made Pre-E3 have extra, unused, loose files for no real reason, but thank fuck they did. Now the next zombie,
Indeed.
sadly, I only have its textures. The model is lost in time. There's nothing I could do about that. However, what's interesting is it applies to a final cutscene zombie model almost perfectly, although it's missing the hair model, which thankfully I have the texture for, but at least we could see the textures applied. These textures were more or less from EM00, from E3 2005. However, the pants texture is oddly different. As you can see, the face was so incredibly low quality, and it's amazing to see these textures after 11 years since it was first shown. We have lots of HD images of E3 2005, but no matter how many we have, it's incredible to see it up close in any angle we want and in HD, and the same thing goes for all the other models. But okay, here is where it gets even crazier. I even have alive versions of these zombies, such as the last one we showed. Here is his totally unused, never before seen alive version, which, again, I don't have the model, but seeing these textures is just crazy. Like, here's the alive version to the fat zombie, never shown to us in the E3 2005 trailer. Here's the alive version of the prologue zombie, which was used as an NPC for E3 2005, but here she is. Hell, here's a green version of her, which we never even got to see anywhere. I've got the NPC that trips and falls when Frank is carrying her in E3, not to mention various test versions of her. I've got test versions of all the Entrance Plaza intro survivors. I've got E3 2005 Connie, well, only her textures, but still. I've got an early version of practically every single survivor that made it into the game, with some major differences, some minor. TGS Carlito, which I've showcased in the previous video. TGS Isabella, which again, we barely got to see her. TGS...
Hold on, the TS Isabella, I really like that. Looks cute. The lips are a little bit, you know, kind of funny, and the nose a little bit, but still looks kind of good, though. I like it.
TGS Otis, which was a total shock to see. There's hundreds more, but I think you can see where I'm getting at here. Pre-E3's files has provided me with almost anything you could need. Even things I didn't even know existed because they were never shown to us. So this video was to show you all what you can expect to see in the future to be ported to PC, and that even if you think some things are lost in time, I might just have it archived thanks to Pre-E3. There's many things I don't have, many models and textures from 2005 I wish I found, but that's just being greedy at that point, because Pre-E3 already provided me with all of this, even though it didn't need to. Simply seeing this zombie was enough for me to nearly faint, so seeing everything else I found was just a total miracle. So there you have it. If there's a model from the early builds that you want to see, simply for archiving yourself or for recreating, you could leave me a comment, and if I have that model, I'll surely post about it. Which is why I'd advise everyone to go follow me on Twitter, which is where I post about updates, future videos, and images of beta assets such as the one you saw today in the highest quality possible. So thanks for watching, and as always, subscribe for more.
Indeed. I really like his breakdowns. I wonder what other cut content they messed up with. A hunt for beta builds. You know what? I'll stop there. There's probably a lot of breakdowns on this thing. I'll definitely link them in the description. Shout out to Step Zero for the interesting RE5 beta enclosed thing. I'll stop there. Till next time, have a good one all. See ya laters.